Home. Joe and I haven't always had a home. We lived with Grandma and Grandpa at first. That was pretty bad. Grandma is the sort of lady who keeps a damp flannel neatly folded in a plastic bag, and she is forever whipping it out and smearing round imaginary sticky bits on me, even at my age. That's nothing. She does it to Joe too. She doesn't do it to Grandpa because he's one of those pale men in straight-piece suits who don't ever get sticky. I can't imagine hanging onto his sharply creased trousers or bouncing on his bony knees when I was a baby. Grandma and Grandpa didn't want Joe and me around, but we didn't have any place else to go. Then we got told about the new borough estate and asked if we wanted a flat there. Grandma and Grandpa just about died. You've probably not heard of the new borough estate unless you live around here. You'll definitely have heard of it if you do. The police get called out every night, and the fire service because the kids keep setting fire to the rubbish in the chutes. The ambulances are always there too because there are so many fights and people getting battered. Sometimes they come to scrape up the bodies because people throw themselves off the balconies because they're so fed up living in a dump like the new borough estate. But we went to live there, Joe and me. There was this huge row and Grandma and Grandpa said they were really washing their hands off us this time. But Joe stood up to them. Funny that. Joe can't say boo to a goose. She lets everyone walk all over her, especially me. She worries terribly about Grandma and Grandpa and she tries so hard to please them. When they come over nowadays and pick faults, Grandma's the worst. Pick. And Joe winces like she's scraping at her actual skin. She still stands up to them over me. It's as if it's easy peasy simple people where I'm concerned. I asked her how come once. Because you mean more to me than anyone else, said Joe. She does to me too. She's my mom. You guessed that, didn't you? You wouldn't guess it though if you saw us out together. Big sister and little sister. That's what you'd think. With me, the big sister? No, that's just a joke. Though it won't be long before I'm taller than her. She's only little and I'm getting big. There's not much between us age-wise either. She was still at school when she had me. Shock. Horror disaster. That's what Grandma and Grandpa thought. Of course, I wasn't observing much in those days, but I can imagine all too well. Joe's told me lots of stuff anyway. They didn't want her to have me. And then, after I got born, they wanted Joe to put me in a home, the sword with a capital H, so that Joe could start a new life all over again. This is my new life, said Joe, as if I'd ever give my baby away. I'll make a proper home for both of us. She did too. It wasn't so bad on the new borough estate. Well, it was some of the time, like when we got our door kicked in and the boys wrote stuff all over the walls. Or the day this loony cornered us in the lift. Or the time our telly got nicked the day after it got delivered. But we made some great friends there too. It was our home, even though we didn't have any cash to do it up and make it look pretty. We were on benefit at first, and then Joe got a job once she'd got me into nursery, but we didn't spend much even then. We were saving. Grandma and Grandpa stopped being so huffy and offered us lots of money to get us out of the new borough estate. I thought Joe was mad to say no, but she said we had to do it all by ourselves to show them, because they didn't think we stood a chance. But we made it. Joe worked hard at her job selling televisions and washing machines, and we saved like crazy. And then Joe got a promotion and another, and then guess what? She was made the manageress of the big branch down in the shopping center, in charge of a staff of 12. So we started hanging out around estate agent windows looking for anything going really cheap because people keep getting made redundant in our area, and so they can't keep up the payments on their homes and they get taken away from them. There were a few ex-council flats we could have managed, posher than the new borough estate, but Joe wasn't having that. We want something private, she said. Small but select. And that's what we've got. A one-bedroom flat in a quiet private block with laid-out gardens. No one tore out the roses or smashed the windows or peed in the lift. The people living there were mostly elderly ladies or young married couples or school teachers who don't usually tear and smash and pee publicly. They looked a bit nervously at Joe and me when we moved in, especially me, but Joe insisted we had to be on our best behavior at all times. Well, at least till we get accepted, she said. So we'll keep the CD player turned down low, right? And we'll smile at everyone and say stuff like good morning and good afternoon ever so polite. And we won't go barging straight past someone to get in the lift first. And if we're having one of our famous ding-dong rows, we'll have to do it in a whisper. Get it? I got it. I stuck to all these rules most of the time, and we've got accepted. Oh, one or two of the truly stuffy old bags have asked me pointed questions about Daddy, and then they mumble with raised eyebrows, but even those ones say hello and offer me toffees and tell me how tall I'm getting. We're friends with just about everyone in the flats. But we don't really need all the other people, of course. When we shut our blue front door, I wanted red, but Joe said we had to blend in with the others along the balcony. Then we're home and it's all ours and we can be our family. Small, but select, like the flats. We still haven't got much money to do it all up because most of Joe's earnings go on the mortgage. We've got a good telly and video and CD player and washing machine though, because Joe gets them at a serious discount, and we've painted all the flats so that it looks great. Joe wanted white for the living room, boring, but she let me choose this amazing dark red for our bedroom, and we've got these truly wonderful crimson curtains we found at a boot fair, and a deep purpley red lamp, and when it's a treat day like a birthday, we draw the curtains and switch on the lamp, and we have a special red picnic in our beautiful bright bedroom. Cherries, plums, jam tarts, strawberries, split ice creams, Ribena for me and red wine for Joe. Yum yum. I was kind of hoping Joe and me might be having a bedroom picnic that evening because she had an appointment with the manager for the whole of our area and she was hoping it might be about further promotion. It was scary opening the door of our flat and seeing Joe because she doesn't usually get back from work till 6 at the earliest. But there she was, sitting in the middle of the living room floor, not doing anything, just sitting with her hands clasped around her knees. Joe, what's up? She looked so small sitting there like that. I towered over her as I stood beside her. Joe, why are you home from work? Don't you feel well? Have you been sick? I thought maybe that was it. She looked so white, no, gray, and her eyes were all watery. Oh, Charlie, she whispered. What? The most terrible things happened, she said in such a tiny voice that I had to bend right down close to hear. All these different possibilities came bubbling up inside my head until I felt as if it was boiling. Tell me, I said. Jo opened her mouth again, but her voice was just a wisp now. Tell me, go on. You're scaring me, I said, giving her shoulder a little shake. I could feel she was shivering even though it was hot in the flat and she hadn't bothered to open any of the windows when she came in. Jo, I sat down properly beside her and put my arm right around her. She gave a little stifled sound and then tears started dribbling down her face. It can't be that bad, whatever it is, I said desperately. We've still got each other and our flat and we haven't, Jo sobbed. Well, we've got each other, but we won't be able to keep the flat because I've lost my job. What? But that's ridiculous. You're great at your job. They think the world of you. How could they get rid of you? Was this the area manager? Is he crazy? He's lost his job too. We all have. The firm's closing down. We all knew things had been a bit tight recently and some of the smaller shops closed, but no one thought. They've just gone bust, Charlie. They can't find a buyer, so that's it. They've ordered us to lock up all the shops. I'm out of job. Well, you'll get another one. Easy peasy simple pimple, I said. I wish you wouldn't keep saying that, said Jo, sniffing. It sounds so stupid, and you're being stupid. How am I going to get another job? All the electrical goods chains are struggling. There's no jobs going there. I've been to the job center. There's nothing going in retail at all. There's some office work, but they want all sorts of GCSEs and certificates, which I haven't got, have I? I'm the one that's stupid. No, you're not, I said, even though she'd just said I was stupid. I should have tried to keep up with my schoolwork, gone to evening classes. Jo wept. You had me. I could have been catching up these last few years, but I didn't think I needed to. I was doing so well at work. You'll get another job, Joe. Honest, you will. There must be shop jobs going somewhere. You'll get a job easy. You'll get a job, I promise. I promised until I was blue in the face, but of course we both knew I could turn positively Navy, but it wouldn't make any difference. Jo didn't come to bed till very late that night, and then she didn't sleep for ages. She tried not to toss and turn, but whenever I woke up, I knew immediately she was awake, lying stiff and still, staring up at our crimson ceiling. Only it doesn't look red at night, it's black in the dark. I woke up very early, long before the alarm. At least the ceiling was dimly red now. Jo was probably asleep at last, her hair all sticking up, her mouth slightly open. She had one hand up near her face, clenched in a fist. I propped myself up on one elbow, watching her for a bit, and then I slid out of bed. Jo won't let me stick any posters or magazine pictures up in the living room. We've got a proper print of a plump lady cuddling her daughter with a white frame to match the walls. I didn't want to mess up the round red glow of the bedroom, but I've stuck up heaps and heaps of stuff in the loo. Want to see? Of course, it's a bit weird with all these eyes watching you when you go to the toilet. Lisa and Angela always have a giggle about it when they come to my place. They both like my home a lot. They've got much bigger houses, but they think mine's best. They're thrilled if I ever have one or other of them to stay over. They have to come separately, and even then, Jo has to sleep on the sofa in the living room. Angela's house seems quite small too, but that's just because she's got a big family, not just brothers and sisters, but a granny and an auntie or two. It's fun at Angela's house, and she's got a super mom who laughs a lot, and she cooks amazing food. Angela and I stayed up half Saturday night and got the giggles so bad when we went to bed that we still couldn't get to sleep for ages. I nearly fell asleep in church. That's the disadvantage of staying over at Angela's. We went to church twice on Sunday. I might even have had to go again in the evening if Jo hadn't picked me up in time. Lisa's got an even bigger home with a huge garden and street. We put up this tent in her garden and camped out in it, though I'd have sooner slept in her bedroom, which is pink and white and ever so pretty, with special twin beds with pink and white flowery duets. Lisa's mom is all pink and white too, and she smells very flowery, but she isn't always as soft and gentle as she looks. She nags Lisa about all sorts of stuff, but Lisa's dad adores her. He calls her his little Lisalet, and when he comes home from work, he gives her such a big hug he lifts her right off her feet. Lisa said it must be awful for me not having a dad. I said I didn't care a bit, and I don't. I've got Jo. Sometimes Jo and I play this silly game that we're both male because we've both got funny names. I'm little boy Charlie, and she's this big, gruff, funny bloke Joe, who's my dad. We often have games together where we muck around and play at being different people. When I was little, my favorite game of all was me being Jo and Jo being me, so that I was the mother and got to tell her what to do. I wandered out of the loo and into the living room and stared at the space on the carpet where Jo had sat yesterday. I felt as if I was the mother now and she was the little kid, but it wasn't a game. The minute Jo woke up, she said, "What are we going to do?" As if I knew. I felt worried about leaving her at home when I went to school. I kept wondering if she was sitting on the living room floor again, all hunched up. I was thinking about Jo and her job and our home so much I didn't listen in lessons, and Miss Beckworth got really narked with me. So I acted cheeky and I was in serious trouble, but I didn't really mind. That just made things more normal. Miss Beckworth kept me in at dinner time. She didn't give me any stupid lines to write out, though. She said I could work on my Victorian project. Boring, 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 I thought. But better than lines, and at least I had the book box to myself. I asked for something about Victorian homes, not the posh house for the rich. What about an ordinary little home for a poor family? Aren't there any books about that? She found me 1 or 2 pages, but there wasn't much, so I made a lot of it up.